In this video, we will learn how to customize our UI text view from Swift code. And I have an empty project created. Let me quickly look for the text view and drag and drop to my project. I will position it like this. Okay, so we have a text view, and for us to be able to interact with it, we will need to create an outlet for it. So I'll select a view controller, open it in Assistant Editor, hide panels that I do not need, and then I'll select the view controller. I will select the text view, hold Control button on my keyboard, click, drag, and drop it here. And I will give it a name, my text view. Okay, text view is created, and I can start interacting with it, and I can start editing some of its properties. Like, for example, I can set a different text to it. For example, I can reference this text view like this, my text view dot text equals, and here I can provide a different text. In this video, we are going to edit UI text view from our Swift code like this. Now let's run our example and see how it looks. Okay, we have our little mobile application up and running, and instead of the text that was set by default, we have our custom text visible. In this video, we're going to edit UI text view from our Swift code. Okay, but it is on white background, and we do not see the boundaries of our UI text view. So let's edit it a little bit more and add a background color to it. Okay, so I'll go back to my Swift code, and in my Swift code, I'll type my text view background color equals, and there are a number of predefined colors that I can use. For example, if I reference UI color, I can choose something like green color, or I can choose a gray color. Although gray color is not a very good example, because normally fields that are disabled appear in gray, or I can choose yellow color like this. So now if I save it and run again, let's look at the result. Okay, now I have my UI text view with a yellow background color. But most of the time we need to pick color from a Photoshop file that was given to us by a designer. And in that case, we need to set a color in RGB values. So for example, let me open a Photoshop, and in Photoshop I have an empty file. Let's assume edit design, and that design will have some colors. So let's assume we need to pick a color. For example, to pick a color, we can use this tool, and we can eyedropper tool. I can click on it, and then I can pick a needed color by simply clicking on the picture. And this will be the lower left corner. Here we have two squares with the foreground color and the background color. So if I click on the foreground color, this is the color that I picked. And here in the middle column here, I have RGB values, red, green, blue. So these are the values that I will need to supply in my Swift code. If I choose a different color, these RGB values change. So let's, for example, go back to our Swift code, and I'll choose my text view background color equals, and we will create a new color using RGB values. And we will need to instantiate a new UI color object, and then if continue typing, there will be an initializer that accepts different color values. For example, for red color, we need to provide CG float value, and red color here for us is 39. So I'll copy this 39, and I will double click here, and I'll type 39 divided by 255. This is the way we supply a red color. And then for green, I'll do just the same. So I'll switch back to Photoshop, copy value for G, which is green, 53, and I'll double click here, delete this value, and I'll type 53 divided by 255. And for blue, which is 182, and I'll choose 182 divided by 255. And for alpha, I'll just set 1. Okay, so that will be our new background color. Let's run our example and see how it works. So I'll stop this and run. Okay, we have our example running, and I see a different background color, which is exactly the one we picked in Photoshop. So that worked. Let's continue. We can also set a different font size, font weight, and font style for our UITextView. For example, let's reference UITextView and then font, and then we can create a new font, or we can reference UI font and then provide a different system font size or font size and weight. Let's, for example, provide a different system font of size, and I'll provide a larger font size, something like 20. And let's run this example and see how it looks. Okay, now I have a much larger font size, but I see that my font color is black, which does not look very nice on a darker background. So let's change a couple of things. Let's reference my text view and then choose text color and choose one of the predefined colors, for example, UI color, and then I'll choose white color. And we will also change font a little bit. For example, I'll choose my text view, and then we can change font and set UI font system. No, let's actually change, let's choose bold system font of size, and then let's say 20 as well. So now we will have a white a color for our text, but it will be a bold font. Let's run it again and see how it looks. Okay, our text color is now white and we have a bold font. We can also set a different font style. For example, my text view font equals new UI font, and here if I type name, for example, there will be an initializer that I can use to provide a different font style. For example, I can choose Verdana, and then I can choose a different size, for example, 17. Now if I run my application, my font style will be Verdana. Here we go. We have a white text color and our font is no longer bold, but it is set to size 17 and style Verdana. Let's make our text view editable and look at a couple of more features. So I will do my UI text view, and then I will set editable to true. For example, we can enable auto capitalization and make all characters that user type be capitalized. For example, I will reference to my text view, and then I will choose auto capitalization type, and I will set it to UI text auto capitalization type. And here I have a few options. I can choose all characters to be capitalized, or I can choose words to be capitalized. Let's choose all characters, for example. And now if I run my example, I should have all characters capitalized, but those that user type. For example, the text that we have set in our Swift code will not be auto-capitalized. Let's run and see. Okay, here's our text view, and if I click into the text view, I should see the keyboard. If I don't see the keyboard, I can go into hardware and then keyboard, and then uncheck keyboard hardware, connect hardware keyboard. Okay, and here I have my keyboard. I will hit space, and then I'll start typing G, H, T, Y, and I see that all the characters that I type are capitalized. and I'll type a few more. They're all capitalized. And if I connect back my hardware keyboard, connect hardware keyboard, and if I start typing from my computer keyboard, it will not work. And this is because I'm typing on simulator. I'm using simulator and I'm typing on keyboard. So if you are working on this feature, make sure you disconnect your keyboard and type using keyboard that simulator provides. Okay, so this works. Let's continue. The next feature we can look at is, for example, making our links and phone numbers detectable. For example, I can to make it work, I will need to make my UITextView first selectable. True. Let's make a comment. Make web links clickable. Okay, so we will need to make our text view selectable, and then we will need to disable editable, because in editable mode links are not clickable, so that will be set to false. And next we can set detector types, and that will be data detector types equals, and we will reference UI data detector data detector types, and I'll click here and I'll see what we can detect. So we can instruct our UITextView to detect addresses and to detect links and to detect phone numbers. For example, let's choose link. Okay, and now I will save. And before I run my example, let me add a website address at the end here. So that will be the address of my blog, Swift developer blog.com. Okay, and if I run my example now, let's see how it looks. Okay, here's our text view, and I see that my swiftdeveloperblog.com is of a different color, which means it is a link. If I click on it and hold it, I'll be presented with an option to open it or add to my reading list, or I can click on it and it should take me to the web browser and load my blog. Here we go. Okay, so let's go back. Just a quick note, for your UITextView to detect links, it has to be selectable and it needs to be editable. Now let's make our UITextView with rounded corners, for example. That will look very good. So I will choose UITextView, and then what I can do, I can reference a layer, and then I can say corner radius is equal to something like 10, and this should make corners a little bit rounded. So let's run this now and see how it looks. Okay, here we go, and I see that my UI text view has rounded corners. So if I resize it just a little bit, here, and then I will reset constraints, and run it again, I will see rounded corners even better. Okay, here we go. So rounded corners work. One last thing that I would like to show you is how autocorrection and spell checking works. And for spell checking to work, we will need to make our text view editable again. So I will reference my text view and set editable to true, and then I will reference my text view and type autocorrection type equals UI text autocorrection type, and I'll need to choose yes. Okay, and for the spell checking, UI text view spell checking type equals UI text spell checking type yes. Let's also turn auto capitalization for all characters off. So I'll type auto capitalization type equals UI text auto capitalization type, and I'll set it to none. Okay, so it's editable, and autocorrection is on, spell checking is on, and we do not capitalize any of the characters. It's a normal typing. Okay, let us run our example and see how it works now. Okay, here's our text view, and I should be able to type in it. And let me type a proper word, something like simply. Simply, okay, that's correct. And now I'll make a typo in it. So I will type simply again. And I see that it auto suggests me, and I can continue typing an incorrect word, and I'll hit space. And now my word is highlighted with red. So our spell checking is working.